Hi, thank you for joining me for the fifth installment of the Celebrating Self project. Today we're going to discuss the relationship between our emotions and self-love. And if you're someone like me who is quite emotional and in touch with that side of themselves, I'm very excited to connect with you in this capacity. And if you're someone who potentially is more influenced by reason and logic and doesn't consider themselves super emotional, I still think this is going to be a valuable video. The reason being is that we are all impacted by our emotions, whether you feel them in huge waves and huge spurts, or you feel them a little bit less, but they're still there. That's the main key. Emotions are still there and they influence and impact us every single day. So regardless of where you are on that spectrum, I think this is going to be a very valuable video for everyone. So keep watching. Before I start, I do want to say that I did not know what I was going to post about until literally yesterday. I feel like self-love is such a broad topic and there's so much I want to discuss, but it's almost like analysis paralysis. There's so much I want to talk about, but also at the same time, I don't know what I want to talk about. So luckily some inspiration came to me on Saturday night. I have practiced some new pre-bed rituals just to help me get better sleep and to help me stay more centered and kind of add a little spirituality into my practice. And they always change. They're not the same practice every single day. It's just kind of intuitively what I feel like doing that particular day. But on Saturday night, I decided to listen to some music, and all of a sudden I was caught off guard by a song that I did not know, and it made me start crying, and I kept crying for a pretty long period of time. And then I woke up the following day, which was yesterday, Sunday, and I started crying again a little bit. And not for any particular reason. Nothing that has gone on recently has really, triggered that reaction, but it just inspired me to remember how important emotional release is and how important it is to have good emotional hygiene. So I'm actually super excited that I experienced that emotional release Saturday and Sunday because it created a lot of inspiration for today's video. I have a lot of notes that I've written because I want to make sure that I share as much as possible on this topic. So if you see me looking off to the side, I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything for y'all. Now, I consider myself someone, like I said earlier, that's pretty in tune with their emotions. Now, I'm not perfect, but I do feel like I have a lot of tools in my toolkit to help me check in with myself and make sure that I'm meeting my emotional needs. And I know that I am most likely the exception and not the norm because most of us are conditioned to repress. Why? Well, there's good reason. We have to be able to be productive. We have to be able to show up to work, to take care of our families, to provide for our families. And emotions, honestly, sometimes can be an inconvenience. So we're really good at pushing through, and I'll deal with this when it's more convenient. And I get that. However, what I'm encouraging you to do is to start building some really great emotional hygiene tools and behaviors that are proactive and that help you work with your emotions and recognize emotions for what they are. And that is tools that help us experience life. If we did not experience emotions, we would not understand how amazing joy truly feels because we had never felt sorrow. We wouldn't understand what calm feels like because we've never just experience disorganization or chaos. So emotions are really a great guiding tool that help us know that we are actually living life, that we are putting ourselves out there, and that we're interacting with the world. So I hope that the tools that I provide in this video are helpful to at least get you started. So let's talk about it. How do we improve our emotional health? I'm actually just going to focus on one component of this because I want us to start with the basics. The basics of improving emotional hygiene and emotional health are to build self-awareness. So I have a couple of tips that are pretty simple, but I think they seem deceptively simple because it's kind of stepwise. So once you've mastered one, move on to the next and slowly building up that toolkit. But the first step to building emotional hygiene is to build emotional language and vocabulary. Our emotions extend way past mad, happy, sad. There's so many emotions in between those basics. And sometimes I think people struggle to communicate how they're actually feeling. They don't quite have the verbiage. So having that vocabulary is going to be immensely impactful and helpful. And it's going to feel like a weight off your shoulders because you finally have something to describe how you're feeling. There's a really, really great wheel of emotions. It's actually called Plutchik's Wheel of Emotions, Plutchik, Wheel of Emotions. And it has like dozens of emotions that you may be feeling, and that could be a really great place to start. So when you're feeling really, really excited or eager about something, check in with that chart and see if you can picture or find an emotion that really, really resonates with you. And if you're on, the more negative end, see if you can find some verbiage to explain how you're feeling. So now, building off of that, step 2 to developing your emotional hygiene is to practice naming your emotions in simple situations using I statements. So a really good example of this is you're sitting in traffic. Most likely you're by yourself. You don't have anything better to do. You may be a little frustrated, a little stressed. You might be late for work. This is a really good time to use some I statements to communicate and connect with how you're feeling. So perhaps you're using things like I feel anxious, I feel stressed, I feel eager. Using these really, really simple sentences to start building verbiage, language, and communication skills around your emotions is also super helpful. Now, the next step in building your emotional hygiene is allowing yourself to sit with your emotions and observe how your body is feeling. Are you feeling tense? Is your jaw tight? Are you feeling sweaty? Is your heart racing? Do you feel like potentially you might cry? Start checking in with the visceral reactions that emotions might create, and start really, really being attuned and mindful of how your body reacts to certain situations. So not just how you're feeling up here, but how that's manifesting physically as well. Now, something else I want to touch on, and this is step 4 in improving your emotional hygiene, is learning to feel without judgment. So rather than feeling and then saying, this is a really bad emotion or this is a really great emotion, don't categorize emotions as good or bad, right? Sit with your emotions, truly sit with them, allow yourself to feel them in whatever capacity that means for you, and sit there with curiosity and empathy. I wonder why I'm feeling this way. Is there anything that happened recently that's causing this? Is there any unfinished business that maybe I need to resolve? Am I just really excited and that's why I'm sitting here with a giant smile on my face? Using curiosity as a tool to understand how you're feeling a little bit better, and also understanding that because there are no good or bad emotions, we use emotions as a guide and a tool to recognize that we are experiencing life. And that's really it. There's no good, there's no bad, there's just learning lessons, right? There's just opportunity for growth and learning. So keep that in mind as well. And the final step that I really encourage you to take in order to improve your emotional hygiene is understanding your reactions to triggering situations. And what I mean by that is this. We all have certain situations that hype up our emotions. I know for me, if I'm in a crowded grocery store and it's like a Saturday midday and there's all these people there and I'm in a rush, I get very, very anxious and I get very overheated and I also get very cranky and I talk a lot of shit in my head because I'm just so irritated. And I know that. So finding situations that maybe every day that you may experience or on a consistent basis that you may experience, and using the following: when blank, which is the trigger, I blank, which is your reaction. When I'm in a grocery store that's crowded, I get cranky. And so knowing this is actually super helpful to you, because if you know this is a situation that you might be in quite consistently, like maybe you have really tight deadlines at work or you have weekly meetings with your boss that really stress you out, now that you know your reaction, you can have the foresight to potentially adjust your reaction and have a better outcome overall because you already know how you're going to react. So you actually have a lot of proactivity out of this method. So try to adopt that as you start recognizing potential situations in your life that create certain reactions within you. Now, those are the 5 steps I really wanted you to start learning to improve emotional hygiene. There's also activities that you can do day to day or whenever you're feeling like you need emotional release that I think are great as well. Checking in with yourself throughout the day and just saying, I feel blank, very helpful. or reserving a check-in for the end of the day before bed, just reviewing how the day went, and if there was anything that maybe you want to verbalize with yourself or communicate about how you're feeling. Start adopting these check-ins because, like I said, we're so good at pushing past these things that we don't take the time to, kind of like brushing your teeth, right? We don't take the time to consistently do this, and so we're building up emotional plaque. And I want us to start developing habits that daily or on a frequent basis allow us to release that tension if there is any, or to really sit and be present with happy emotions that feel really good. Another great option, like I mentioned in my last video, journaling. That's a really great place to release. Write it down in a non-judgmental space. Reaching out to a friend and just saying, hey, I really want to talk about this stuff. I don't expect you to be my therapist, but I just want to kind of bounce some ideas off you and just let you know where I've been feeling. If you're someone that's super social, that might be great for you. So please continue to use that strategy to your benefit. And finally, a really great one that I'm sure some of us do without noticing is using media as a method to help us release our emotions. And what I mean by that is this. A lot of us, when we're sad, will listen to sad music. But there's so many other ways to continue to help you release emotions. Music is a great one. And like I said, it helped me trigger some emotional release this weekend. But what about movies and shows that really match how you're feeling in that particular moment? What about books that really ignite some kind of feeling within you that helps you release as well? Thinking about media, whether that's books, movies, music, podcasts, etc., things like that to help you continue to release are incredibly impactful. And I know that we're a very media-oriented society, so maybe that's a strategy that for you is going to be super beneficial. I'm so excited that we got to talk about this today. Emotional hygiene is a very broad topic as well, but it starts with self-awareness. So I encourage you this week to start adopting some of these practices. Maybe you start on step 1 and move down the line, but really let me know how this has impacted your week. Do you feel lifted? Do you feel lighter? Do you feel more grounded? Let us know. And Hannah's post for the Celebrating Self project will be coming on Wednesday, so look out for that. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.